As Saylor says,
Bitcoin's powered by chaos.
as more money is printed, more chaos is unleashed into our economy globally, destroying purchasing power. Today, we explore how Bitcoin absorbs this destructive, chaotic energy and turns it into productive economic energy. Welcome to Bitcoin Daily. I'm Dante Cook, head of Swan Business. We jump off with Michael Saylor's latest analogy from his 21 Rules of Bitcoin presentation at Bitcoin Prague, that Bitcoin is powered by chaos. Bitcoin is the culmination of thousands of years of experiments to create better money. Like where science met astronomy, Saylor says that Bitcoin is the singularity where science meets economics. Michael Saylor makes a lot of great points in this presentation, but my favorite rule of his had to be number 4, which is Bitcoin is powered by chaos. As more money is printed, the more chaos is created. You have to think about this. Before that money was created, there was already the coordination, collaboration, and value assignment of the economic energy that has already been stored and created into the current economy. As you create more money, that all shifts, and everything needs to recalibrate under this new paradigm, which ultimately disrupts the flow of how we trade and how we store our economic energy, therefore creating more chaos. This is precisely what Michael Saylor dives into in this latest clip.
Bitcoin's powered by chaos. When you take your money and you put it in a bank and you save it in a fiat currency, you're loaning your money to a country. When you take your money and you buy a stock, you're loaning your money to the management team of a company. When you take your money and you buy a building, you're loaning your money to the mayor of a city. When you take your money and you buy a piece of art, you're loaning your money and investing your money in a culture. When you actually buy Bitcoin, you're loaning your money to the lords of entropy. You're loaning your money to the gods of chaos. What's the bet? The bet is that chaos will outperform cities, companies, countries, cultures. It's a profound idea. I place you in Europe before World War II. I give you a lot of money, and I give you a choice. You can buy any piece of land in any country. You can buy any building. You can own any company in Europe. You can own art in Europe. You can invest in the currencies and the bonds of Europe. Imagine I give you a choice of buying any asset in any nation that's about to be a combatant in World War II, or you can own the one bank in Switzerland that's going to hold all the money of all the combatants. And you see, if you own that Swiss bank and everybody puts their money in the bank and the war comes, chaos comes. And the war is a metaphor for chaos and entropy accelerated in 4 years. What you realize is every building is risky. It may be blown up. Every company will probably collapse. Any piece of land may or may not have value. The rents and the rental contracts will probably be torn up. The currencies will all collapse. And in fact, the more chaos, the more destruction and devastation, the more valuable that one bank. In fact, if everybody puts their money in the bank and they all kill each other, the bank keeps the money. And it's a very profound idea. Are you in the business of benefiting from chaos, or are you in the business of attempting to stop it? And the law of thermodynamics says you can't stop entropy, right? The more confused a government is, the more inefficient the mayor is, the more inefficient and competitive a corporation's market environment is, the more chaos and the more change in the culture, the worse all those other investments are, and the better the Bitcoin investment is. Bitcoin is powered by chaos. It's going to continually outperform everything else because the one truth in the universe is that entropy goes in one direction, chaos will continue.
What are the implications of this? And more importantly, what are the signs that this is actually true? For me to have the confidence to invest in this thing called Bitcoin, which you say is powered by chaos. Well, let me explain. When you look at this chart here, which tracks the rate of change in the money supply and how this impacts Bitcoin's price, you see that Bitcoin's price moves when the chaos moves or the money gets created into the economy at a faster or slower rate, meaning that Bitcoin is actually doing a great job of absorbing the chaos. And this isn't just a guessing game where you throw a dart at the wall and hope you actually are able to turn chaotic energy into something productive, which is the entire venture capital industry, which aims to throw money or chaos at an entrepreneur who has an idea that can wrangle that idea into the right mix of people, the right mix of talent and engineers in order to create something valuable and something useful in the world that is hopefully productive. And in the world that we live in today, probably not profitable, but will have a ridiculous valuation. But that's neither here nor there. You have to acknowledge the fact that when money is created, more future economic energy is created, and thus it has to be wrangled in order to make it productive. What Bitcoin has actually revolutionized is that it takes this excess or chaotic money or future energy, and it takes that entropy and creates a store of value or helps people protect their purchasing power. And it's not just in a single currency. As we know, we've talked about money printing a lot on this show. Almost every currency in the world is experiencing all-time highs in Bitcoin. Just look at this chart from our senior research analyst, Sam Callahan, that he posted on his Twitter earlier today. When you look at the returns of Bitcoin, it has a 155% compound annual growth rate across the 9 largest currencies in the world from 2011 through today, meaning that in a relatively rational and predictable way, Bitcoin is taking something chaotic and creating something meaningful and productive, aka returns or protecting purchasing power for millions of people globally. And for all the people that say that Bitcoin is unpredictable, just look at this chart. You have 3 years of green followed by 1 year of red, with 3 years of green and 1 year of red. Now, past performance doesn't predict future returns, but this seems to look like a pattern to me. And when you look at the volatility of Bitcoin, what used to scare so many investors and people away was that it was too volatile. When you look at previous periods like COVID-19 or the FTX or Terra Luna collapses, you can see the volatility in Bitcoin as it's trying to calibrate and absorb this volatility. But we actually see as Bitcoin has grown in adoption, like every other good money, you can see the volatility start to slowly get lower and lower and less. What will be interesting to look at over the next cycle is if Bitcoin continues to have outside returns combined with relatively low volatility, that's pretty predictable. Although the programming of Bitcoin hasn't changed, it seems like we as humans are all being programmed to Bitcoin and that we are starting to understand its cycles and understand its value prop and its benefits. This is sort of like another quote that Michael Saylor says, that we don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes us. And it changes politicians, like the Idaho Republican Party, which says that it's going to run on a Bitcoin platform. End quote. We recognize the failure of the Federal Reserve System to maintain a sound US dollar and the danger of mercantile banks controlling the issuance of our currency. Whether you look at the money in circulation or the amount of interest payments that the US government has to make surpassing its defense spending and military budget, you can see that there is chaos in the US financial system. And you start to think, if there's no actual debt ceiling, shout out to my guy James Lavish for reminding us yesterday that there is no actual debt ceiling. If there's no ceiling to the debt, then there's actually no ceiling to how high the price of Bitcoin can go. Because if there's more chaos that is unleashed, the more chaos it will absorb. And last thing about a debt ceiling, there's no such thing as a debt ceiling, only a debt jubilee or a debt default, none of which are tenable options in our current political environment. And you know what's similar to US debt spending? The amount of crypto tokens that have been created. There are almost 6 times more tokens that are available now in circulation than there were at the 2021 peak. And you ask, why is there always chaos in the crypto, Web3, DAO markets? Because there's unlimited chaos and unlimited tokens that can be created. There's no constraints. There's no 21 million supply cap. there's no limit to how many hard forks that Ethereum can have. Therefore, there's no limit to the chaos that its ecosystem can have. And speaking of Ethereum, Hashdex just filed for a dual Ethereum and Bitcoin ETF, which is a market cap weighted product, meaning that the percentage of Bitcoin and Ethereum will be equivalent to their market caps relative to each other, which we all know over time, it's just going to end up being a Bitcoin ETF because the price of Ethereum in Bitcoin is going to zero. A guy named Prith Veer said this well today in a post. He said, I'm fearful that the fate of Ethereum priced in Bitcoin is going to be the same as Litecoin, XRP, ZSC, and XMR. Doesn't really matter what the other token is. It's unlimited chaos being priced in the chaos absorber, which is Bitcoin. And so over time, all fiat currencies and crypto tokens priced in Bitcoin are going to zero. All money converges on the best money, and that best money is Bitcoin. And with that, we're signing off for today. This is Dante Cook with Swan.com. Happy stacking.